What is going on, everyone? Thank you all so much for tuning back in, and let's jump right into another recap. So this is how the Nasdaq looked on the day today. This was right around when the market opened up. It had a little drop to below the middle VWAP, all the way back down to this general area right here. Found a support, shot up all the way to the top VWAP, even made higher highs on the day, and ultimately started to sell off on the day. So why did I have a red day when the whole direction looked pretty clear, right? I wouldn't disagree with any of you guys. Looking at the market always, like I said in yesterday's video, in hindsight, the direction always looks so clear on the Nasdaq. It's clear to see that it ended up shooting up here and then basically just fell and all the way back down. It was just falling to the bottom VWAP and kind of trending between this channel, the middle VWAP and the bottom VWAP. But if the direction was so clear, how come I wasn't able to capitalize on it? I want to go ahead and show you guys a little bit of my perspective and what it would be like for you guys to wake up at market open and trade, so you guys can kind of get a glimpse into why I've been struggling a bit, and definitely something I want to share with you guys in terms of what I'm going to try differently that I think has been leading to my inconsistency, right? I want to share with you guys what I'm going to try to implement to improve on that. So right when the market opened up, none of this, like I showed you in yesterday's video, none of this is visible, right? So only the area to the left that isn't grayed out is basically what I'm seeing leading into the market open, right? And what I want to share with you guys is that right when the market opened up, leading into the pre-market, the Nasdaq was doing a great job of starting the uptrend a little bit, right? It did cross the middle VWAP here, and it was still forming these higher lows and higher highs, right? Even though the lows were barely any bit higher, they were still higher, and I was paying attention to that. And the highs it was getting at were still continuously climbing, right? The highs were getting higher. So right when the market opened up, I was a little patient. It was right around here, and I saw this big drop below the middle VWAP right here. Let me zoom in a little bit for you guys. Right, so right when the market opened up, Nasdaq dropped below the middle VWAP, this purplish line, and started indicating signs that it no longer wanted to validate this pattern it's been following, right? Of trending or trying to find a support off the middle VWAP and bouncing for higher highs. So when I saw it start falling, I decided to take an S-juice play, only for it to find a support here, and then the flushing all the way to the top VWAP, right? And another point, like I shared with you guys yesterday, that I do want to take note of is, although direction looks clear in hindsight, look at how many green bars are mixed in here with the red bars. There was definitely a lot of opportunities that I got faked out, which led to me being red. I ended up starting the day like down $50, made it all back. Then I was down $50 again because of all this chop, and basically ended up making a little portion of it back again. But just like I shared with you guys my first trade, I decided to take an S-juice trade as it started falling, but ultimately had to sell out because it did start flushing up. And it even made new highs on the day, right? It still made higher highs. But if we pay attention to the 5-day, 5-minute, I need to just basically pay more attention to the fact that it never wanted to pass this resistance right around the top VWAP. It was doing a great job of starting the rally in the morning, which made me think it was going to be a TQs day. But let's take, for example, another trade that I would have taken today. So let's say I got stopped out and ended up rallying up, right? So right around here, it made new highs, and it was still trending now above this EMA line for higher highs and higher lows, right? So let's say I wanted to take a TQs play because I saw it just cross the top VWAP, made new highs on the day, and wanted to break out. I'd wait for it to get close to the blue EMA line, and I would buy in. It would start going my way, ultimately to end up flushing me out in the wrong direction, right? So I'd get flushed out, and once I saw that the Nasdaq came to this middle VWAP here, before you see any of this whole right side, it was still showing signs that it could uptrend, right? It could still form these higher lows than it did here. And just like all pre-market, it was trying to bounce off this middle VWAP. So I'd get into another TQs play, and as it started going up, I would average up, only for it to just flush back down. And as you guys can see, once it started trending below the middle VWAP, I'll think, okay, maybe it's an SU's play now because it doesn't want to hold, only for it to just shoot back up. So there's definitely a lot of fake outs that were happening on throughout the day. Anytime it would make a new low and break the low it had, it would just flush up, making me think that it wasn't gonna basically start falling and it was gonna try and hold. And then when I would try to go with the direction up, it would just flush down. So that's definitely where I have been going wrong. And what do I want to share that I'm gonna implement to try and do better? I think where I've been going wrong is I've been averaging up with 3/4 of my position, like I told you guys, right after initially getting in only with the quarter. And I think that that is where I've been struggling because let's say right around up here, I wanted to take an S-juice play, right? Because let's say I saw that it was struggling, it didn't want to break this top view up. So I take a S-juice play up somewhere up here after I saw it started falling a little. And now as it broke below the EMA line, it didn't want to kind of validate this pattern of trending still above it to make higher highs and higher lows. So once it fell below, my problem is that because I average up with such a heavy amount, right, my 3/4 of my position after I got in with my quarter up here, because I average in with such a heavy amount, let's say I did when it broke below the EMA line, this move from here to the top is already enough for me to want to sell and get stopped out because when I average up with my full size here, a play like this, even up to this candle right here, if I were to hold still, that would still be a pretty penny I lose. That would be like around $50 I lose, which I don't want to put at risk, which I'm trading with $10,000 by the way. I don't want to put that at risk, so I would sell out of all my shares for a loss basically, or at least the 3/4 I bought in with, only for it to eventually actually fall below the EMA and actually really start downtrending. So there were a lot of fake outs, right? Anytime it would look like it was falling, it would kind of go back up, but ultimately on the day, it did end up forming these lower highs right around here and lower lows, right? So that's where I've been struggling. Every time I average up with my full position, it tends to not really want to go then. It will start to shoot back up and I'm going to have to cut it. Because if I don't cut it here and it did make higher highs and I had to cut it up here, I would be down like $120 on that trade. And I definitely don't want to risk that. So what do I want to do different that I've been seeing other successful traders online doing is averaging up in increments in terms of not like a quarter of my position size and then a whole 3/4 after, but maybe I'll buy in with a quarter of my position size up here. As it starts falling, I can average up with another quarter. Because if I did average up here with another quarter and it flushed up above the EMA line, I could still hold till it broke the top because I'm not in with as much as I would have been if I averaged up fully, right? And as I see that it did want to still, it did trend above this blue EMA line here, but it didn't want to keep going for higher highs. It formed lower highs and it did start actually falling. Then I could send my other, like half of my position I have left or just another quarter and another quarter, you know. That is definitely something I'm going to try to implement now that I think will help with me in terms of not getting caught in these fake outs, right? So basically today I want to go over how I did on the day. As you guys saw in the thumbnail, I was down $18 on TQs and 45 cents on SQs. So 48 filled orders, that is definitely a lot more than I'm used to having. If you guys have been watching, that's definitely, you would know, a lot more than I usually take. And it was because of all this choppiness, right? I was basically started the day down $50 off of taking several red trades, made it back, and then I was down another $50 on top of that, and then managed to end the day down $18, making a little bit back. And as you guys can see, the Nasdaq is still continuously selling off while I'm making this video now, and it's selling off kind of aggressively, right? It looks like it's just going to be bearish leading into the after hours and pre-market tomorrow. So I did want to take you guys, I wanted to make you guys aware of that in terms of if any of you have been struggling also trading the Nasdaq because it has tended to be kind of choppy when it trades sideways, right? It does have a lot of fake outs like I showed you guys. Like right around here, it seemed like it was going to fall and made a lower low trending below the bottom VWAP now. It looked like it was going to start falling, only for it to catch a support and start making these kind of higher highs and higher lows, right? Making you think it might start uptrending again, only for it to fall. So that's why it is more important to pay attention to general areas, and I want to average in And on top of that, when I do add to my position, make sure it's not such a heavy amount where I feel like it's such a burden if it were to start climbing kind of aggressively, and I feel like I have to cut it instantly only for it to actually start going my way. I'm going to try averaging up in smaller amounts, so I'm not going to sweat it if it does start climbing, because it would only make sense to cut it if it did break this resistance area it's been having, even on the 5-day 5-minute, right? It formed one here during the pre-market. It would only make sense to cut it if it did break above it and really started going, right? It could break above it a tiny bit, but ultimately get rejected there. And that's where I've been going wrong. That's definitely what I'm excited to start implementing. I've just noticed that I've been getting caught in way too many of those fake outs, and ultimately for it to actually end up going the way I thought it'd be, looking at it on the bigger time frames. So that's where I wanted to leave off with you guys in terms of NASDAQ today, and I do want to go ahead and show you guys momentum stock of the day because they're always just fun to look at, right? And the one I want to show you is GRNQ. It's one of the top ones here, and if I go to it, these stocks, very, very interesting, very volatile, and yeah, just very cool to look at, right? This was right around 6:30 when the market opened up right around here. The stock was literally trading at lows of $1.50, and it ends up hitting highs in the aftermarket of $3.30. So you guys do the math, that's over 100% return you could have made, which is absolutely ridiculous. And these patterns are definitely not bad, right? It touched the top VWAP, ended up coming back down, found a support on the middle VWAP, climbed higher, touched the top VWAP, came back down, and basically was forming this type of pattern, right? And if you guys want to trade momentum stocks, I wouldn't say it's dumb at all, right? If you guys learn how to manage your risk well, and on top of that, you could kind of implement what I've been telling you in terms of the NASDAQ to this too. The reason I stopped trading momentum was because I would get caught maybe, let's say right around here. I saw it hit the top VWAP, came back down, was doing a good job of holding and wanted to go again. If I bought in here, you can get caught in this red bar here in a second and be down like 10% instantly, which is just, I always felt at the edge of my shoes. I never felt like I was comfortable or totally at ease when I was averaging up or anything like that because of these big drops. But if you guys saw and took the general approach I told you guys, if you guys saw that it tended to bounce off here, right, it wouldn't go, but it was still holding at this general area. Maybe you send a small position here and risk it falling. So maybe the bottom VWAP, you're risking around 6-7%. But if it does start going and showing signs that it does want to make higher highs and you averaged up in increments, you would be able to be comfortable riding this whole way up and not worrying about red bars like this, right? Because if you fully averaged up here and took this red bar at 10%, that would be a pretty decent hit, right? Enough for you to get scared and sell in order for it to actually climb. So let's say you bought in right around this general area. It started going a little. You only averaged up with another quarter or another fifth or something like that, whatever you guys want. And it did fall like that. You wouldn't be as inclined to just instantly sell off of emotion, right? Because you know that it could still hold from this general support area, like right around here. It was trying to hold and go. So you could still be in, and although it did struggle a bit, it does ultimately end up coming back up, and it would have never touched the area you would have stopped out at. And because you weren't averaged in fully, you wouldn't care to basically have the whole thing kind of just drop on you and scare you to flush you out, right? You could just be trading with a lot more ease, knowing you don't have to be trading with all the money you have in your account or fully invested like that. So definitely a nice play you had up, right? Over 100% you could have made. And yeah, that's just it. Make sure if you're going to trade stocks like this to always have a risk management plan, because if you do take a nice hit, let's say you averaged up, you took a hit and you didn't want to accept, like you had to sell, right? Because you checked the P&L and you're already down a good amount. You're hesitant to sell. You're like, all right, maybe it can find a support. And what if it didn't, right? What if it went south and fell below the bottom VWAP, even this SMA line, and died? You would be down so much money. And just don't put yourself in those uncomfortable positions. I've had like one or two trades throughout like the 2 years I've been trading real money, and I've had one or two trades I got caught in those, and it's always better to sell sooner so you manage your risk trading momentum rather than being hopeful and putting yourself in a very uncomfortable position. So that's why I decided to start trading the NASDAQ, because it doesn't move anywhere near as aggressive. But yeah, just take that in mind. And yeah, thank you guys all so much for tuning back in. It's been another recap. Definitely excited to try and end green on the week, right? I'm down right around 1% on the week. Not the end of the world, but I am looking to bounce back. And yeah, just the NASDAQ is still selling off, so keep in mind, looking at it in bigger picture, it has a lot of room. It could still start falling, right? It looks like it's going to continue to be bearish, even on the 180 day, right? It looks like it has plenty of room to keep falling. So just watch out for that and do your part in just basically managing your risk and averaging up wherever you feel is smart. But that's my take on what I need to improve on today to hopefully find more consistency when I trade. So thank you guys all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Take care.